Gypsy.
Nice.
Wow, that was way easier than it can be. Like my technology skills. Hey guys, welcome to Power Hour. I'm Lacey, one of the business coaches here at Wise, and we have a special day today. We have Sarisa and Maria, and we'll be talking about their businesses, how they're staying open, and what they're doing in the age of COVID. So quick commercial before we start. If you're on your own, if you're starting your own business, if you've been in business for 10 or 15 years and you kind of need that boost, we're here for you. There's a link for one-on-one business coaching, which is free to you guys based on information.
Hello.
Please, you want to introduce yourself and then we can have Maria introduce herself?
Absolutely. So, hello everyone. Before that, I just want a quick sound check. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. Perfect. So I'm Sarisa Richardson. I am the owner of Gypsy Freedom, which is a sustainable fashion boutique. We retail online as well as in store at our beautiful showroom, which is in downtown Syracuse. So by sustainable, I mean that all of the beautiful women's clothing, accessories, and home and body items are all organic. They are sourced from sustainable fashion brands, and majority of the brands that I carry in my store are socially conscious in that they donate to charities. So I will pass it over to Maria.
Hi guys. My name's Maria. I own Exhale Cafe and Bake Shop. We are located in Township 5. I kind of go with Gypsy Freedom, where we are very sustainable and environmentally friendly here. We don't use any plastic products, and we bake everything fresh every day, so we don't have a lot of waste, which is really important to us. And then all of our furnishings is all secondhand. So we don't buy new, we buy everything secondhand, including our ovens, including all of our stuff in the back, which is another huge thing for us. Just to be more sustainable, environmentally friendly, we really want to reduce our carbon footprint. So while we might not shove it down your face, all of our stuff is, that's kind of what we do here. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to have both of you on. I have started this journey into a zero waste lifestyle, which is a journey. So it's really cool to see businesses popping up that are adopting that bigger question of where are our clothes coming from, what's our fashion coming from, what are we consuming, and how are we consuming that, and how to do things a little bit better. Would you guys mind sharing a couple bullet points, tidbits, tips, or where you've gotten really creative when it comes to opening a store in the age of COVID as a general overview? If we could dive into some of the more nitty-gritty topics, but that's not an easy feat. So how did you guys do it? That takes courage.
Carissa, do you want to go first?
Sure. So opening a brick and mortar is tough, and opening a brick and mortar business during COVID is another layer of tough.
Same.
But it's certainly doable. I think before I tell you my story, I'd like to share that opening a brick and mortar now was right for my business at this point right now. So I'd like to offer that caveat, because while you're listening to Maria and I tell our stories, it's really unique to our business, and I'd like you all of you ladies to always be thinking about your personal business and how you can take any of these tips to work for your business right now. So before I opened my brick and mortar, I really tried to do it in a quantitative way. So like I said, I was an online store before, an online retail store before, and I monitored my sales and helped and grew my online business so that it could supplement any slowness due to COVID for a brick and mortar. So I really wanted to make sure that when I opened my brick and mortar, I wasn't 100% solely dependent on the brick and mortar retail sales. I wanted to figure out how my brick and mortar could work for me 365 days of the year. So I always encourage everyone when they're thinking about opening a brick and mortar, think about that, regardless of whether or not it's COVID. I mean, it certainly helps during a pandemic when people more than likely will not be walking into your brick and mortar. To think it helps to think that way. But even without the pandemic, I always encourage my clients as a business coach to be thinking about how can your brick and mortar work for you while it's open. You know, if no one comes in there, how will you earn income? You know, so that's one of the ways that I sort of try to be innovative and try to keep myself innovative and thinking about using my space differently.
Got it. And you really do use your space differently. You've even opened it up for special events, private events. Your store is beautiful. So that's a great idea.
Thank you. So Maria, I'm curious about you. So tell us some of the fun ways you're being creative during this pandemic using your brick and mortar.
Perfect. All right, guys. So I am a crazy mom of two. I have always been baking. I went to culinary school. It was always a passion of mine to open a business. Being a woman of color, I had a lot of people when I was younger, be like, that's stupid. Why would you open a business? So it's always been something that I've wanted to prove more. Thanks, ladies. Have a good one. That I've wanted to prove more to myself to do. So I ended up having my two children. I did a lot of cakes from home. I saved a lot. So it's been 10 years in the making. I have been saving everything. Before I opened a brick and mortar, I really wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing. So I started a LuLaRoe business, which is it's not cakes and cupcakes, but I wanted to see if I could do something like that, if I could handle what I actually like to do. And I did really well with it. And so then I saved up all the money from that and opened up our shop, which is really great. So what helped me, and especially during COVID, you know, being in a plaza is really hard. It's expensive. Most people are more established when they do that. I just sold everything that I could. I just got my name out. I did everything that I could. When COVID hit, I didn't know what to do. I kind of just sat at home and watched Tiger King. And then I was like, all right, okay, let's regroup. I did deliveries every week. It became a huge thing. I was delivering all the way out to Brewerton, Chittenango, Oswego. Like, I got my name very well out there. All of that helped pay for my business. Oh, I can't hear you.
She's on mute. Keep going, Maria. You're fine.
Okay. So I just got my name out there. And then after that, it helped every week. I would tell people and be very honest and be like, you know, this week's cupcakes is 4th of July or whatever. It's helping pay for like our green wall. Next week is going to help pay for our refrigerator. And people really got into that. So I wasn't afraid to be honest and truthful when it came to stuff like that. With COVID, it's really hard you got to save your money. You need to be really proactive and just figure it out. I kept my other side job just to have the extra income. With children, you never really know. So it's been a lot.
I love your transparency, Maria.
Yes, I try to be very transparent. I'm not all like, oh my gosh, I'm the best baker in Syracuse and I do all this and my life is perfect. I'm like, hey, I made this really cool cake. My son was on my back the whole time. I also had to get 27 snacks and do all of this stuff. So while it might not be as professional looking as, you know, we have so many great bakers in Syracuse, I think people like really genuine and it's real and there's a story behind every cake, which is pretty cool.
I love it.
Authenticity is really hard to find in the day of reality TV that's scripted,
Oh yeah.
filters.
Everything's
You can't
scripted.
find social media without
Right.
you can't find a real picture anymore. It doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
it's a breath of fresh air to have someone in the spotlight who's like, nope, this is actually what it looks like, and
Right.
and you're actually helping to pay for this, and it's like a breath of fresh air.
It's a breath of fresh air. I don't like when people see, for my
While we're
industry, I don't like when people see the photoshopped cakes and then think that's what all cakes look like. Because I'm like, well, that's actually some styrofoam. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy how different things can look. So
It's kind of the same with us as people, though.
right.
How many filters do we need? Is that actually what
Right.
we are supposed to look like? Just what we're putting out there. It takes a certain amount of gumption to lean into that vulnerability and seen as art. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
I can't wait to get over there and eat cupcakes. Marketing company, so I'm born.
Carissa, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, while we are talking about, or while we're being transparent, let's talk about the financial for a second.
Please, can we get there? I'm ready.
Yeah. I'd love to go back to, you said you saved everything you had, you are still working a side job, and then you open. I think it's really important to share that because okay, so during COVID, that is a lot more relevant now because revenues are absolutely going to be lower than they would on a typical year, right?
Right.
But even prior to COVID in general, there is this myth out there that you can start businesses without money, like with grants, all of these things. Like, ladies, you can't do that.
No, if you think you're going to do that, you are setting yourself up for failure. I think it might be a very rare fluke where, so I'm kind of like one of those unicorns. I got a Woman of Colors grant. It was $2,500. I have the chance to raise $5,000 by Halloween. There's a link. I have a link on all of my social medias. It's rare to win that. And I won it from the Caress body lotion. Like, how, you know what I mean? Like,
but still, let's put it in perspective.
It's so rare. I was
$2,500 out of your savings of $30,000.
Right, like, and I was one out of 200,000 women that got it. Like, I literally, when they called me, the girl Olivia was like, "Oh, girl, you won!" And I was like, "Where's Ashton? I'm being punked. Like, this isn't real life. These are my children." They came in. It's picture day. Sorry, it's okay. And I was like, am I being punked? Like, is Ashton back there? Is that still a thing? Like, what's happening? And she's like, no, like, you won. But you're right. Let me tell, that didn't even cover, like, anything. It covered my electric, and it covered, like, half of my payroll for, like, $2,500. So you can't depend on it. You can't depend on it.
Further.
Yeah, so I always like to share, like, if you're opening a brick and mortar, especially if you're opening a brick and mortar, any business this is relevant, but especially if you're going to open a brick and mortar, it is really important that you are trying to get yourself in a way where you're financially astute.
Yes.
So make sure you put a plan in place that will give you enough capital to open, as well as have some form of a rainy day fund.
Right.
Because yes, grants exist.
Don't feel afraid to talk to people. Like, you want to open, I don't know, a pet store. You want to talk to all the pet stores. I went and talked to Sweet Praxis, and I made friends with Natalie at Sweet Praxis. And I talked to Cafe Kubal, and I talked to Salt City Coffee. I went out and I made friends and talked to everybody to see how they do it, to see what the questions are. It's really important to see what you're setting yourself up for, because you don't want to, nobody goes into business being like, I'm going to do it for like 2 years. And then, like, if we fail, then we fail. Like, everyone wants to succeed. Everyone wants to do better. And just that little help really helps. Talk to a CPA, see what it's like, to see if someone will be like, listen, this is our projection of what we're making. I went to every cafe and asked, what do you make every day? What do you do every day? Like, what's a big thing that you're going through? Who's a good wholesaler? I asked every question that like you don't ask people. I was like, oh, hey, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to ask that stuff or you'll never know, or you'll open up and be like, oh my God, like, I had no idea to pay the NIMO bill, or I had no idea that this costs so much. I talked to NIMO. You talk to everybody.
Hey guys, while we're on the topic of finances, we do have questions.
Yes.
And one of the hard, sticky parts, especially with COVID, is not having funds because people were laid off. We've been eating our slush fund to pay for groceries, all the things that kind of all of a sudden fell on people who may have already been in a situation in cases. You are a unicorn. So how did you find your side job with your side hustle that's allowing you some wiggle room? Is that something we hear this a lot as business coaches? What can we do as a side hustle so that we're not acting and opening a business out of we need money and scaring people away?
Teresa, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I'll start. One of the questions I see in the chat is for Teresa from CC on Facebook. How did you start your boutique? Did you start with pop-ups? Yes. And I did that on purpose. Goes with your question, Lacey. I started with pop-ups on purpose. One, because I was very scared to invest in a brick and mortar. Because honestly, I really didn't trust that the market was here in Syracuse. So that was my complete, honest, transparent answer. I really did not feel like Gypsy Freedom would be successful in Syracuse, New York if I opened here. So I started with pop-ups to see where I should open, whether it's Buffalo, Rochester, Baltimore, or Syracuse. And within Syracuse, I used my pop-ups as a way to sort of test the market and tease the market to see like, okay, well, who is this Gypsy Freedom woman? What is she like? Are my price points going to be relevant in this area? Things like that. So yes, I started with pop-ups specifically to test the market and to test my idea. So that's really important before you open a brick and mortar, because one of your business plan sections is market analysis, right? There's many ways you can do a market analysis. You can do surveys and all of these things, but it really helps to use dollars as a way to do your market analysis. So if you have a product-based business or even a service-based business, test out things and use that data to figure out whether or not your ideas are working, to figure out what products to launch and things like that. So it turns out that my most successful pop-ups were right on the block where I'm open right now, in downtown Syracuse. So that was why I chose to open here. It was a very calculated risk that I took, based on the data that I collected from my pop-ups. So, and then Lacey, to answer your other question, you asked something about how I use my side hustle to fund this brick and mortar and this dream. So for me, Gypsy Freedom was not a side hustle. I was a full-time engineer. My full-time career, that was my side hustle. I used that to fund this. So for years, I had always had a savings account to retire. My plan was always to retire at 45 and to open Gypsy Freedom. It just happened 10 years sooner. But so I say that to say it is going to take you money to launch your business ideas. So put a plan in place to make sure you have an idea of how much money it's going to take, and put a plan in place to get that money.
So let's rephrase the question then for you, Maria. If someone's trying to get the money to start the business,
right,
what did you do for your side hustle then?
So I think, Carissa, you're my spirit animal. I am a fly by the seat of my hat woman. So if anyone is like me, I got you. No, I had my kids young. I'm young. I'm 30. Well, I just turned 31, and I never had like the full-time job. I'm not a desk person. I wish I could do engineering. That's not who I am. I worked for liquor promotion. So if that's something you're looking for, you're a busy mom, you have other things that you can't go and make that side money, message me, find my number. I'm on here. I did promotions. I work for Jack Daniels. I work for White Claw. I work for the Brown Foreman. So you see me. I mean, a lot of people see me in all the liquor stores from 4 to 7, and all of that money I use just for my business. And then side cakes. Cakes are pretty expensive. So I would use all of that money and just really save everything. So it is true. You really need to start out, use your business. Like if you want to have your own business, what Carissa said, have your full-time job be your side hustle. I think that that's so smart that you did it that way. I knew things that I needed. So I needed blenders. I needed bakery stuff. I worked seasonally at Williams-Sonoma for the discount so I could buy the things that I needed. So, I mean, little things like that. I just thought I need sheet pans and they're expensive. I really want nice blenders. I worked for places where I would use their discount, which helped.
What I appreciate about both of our stories, Maria and I, is even though we did it different ways,
right.
the key here, ladies, is being strategic and really identifying what you're going to need to start your business. So identifying your startup costs, itemizing what they are, what it is, and then you can really check off that list. Yes, how much time you'll need, absolutely. But you can really check off that list. So if you have a full-time job and like maybe you want to open a boutique, you're going to need mannequins, right? So like use your full-time job or use your side hustle to check off the list and start buying some of the things you're going to need for your startup. Because yes, you can absolutely do it the formal way, take out your business loan and all of these things, but you are still going to need this information. You're still going to need an itemized startup cost list. You are still going to need to know how much it will cost you to launch your business. You're going to need to know how much it will cost you to operate your business. The financials are very, very, very important. That's what separates your hobby from your business, is the finance.
Right. That's so true. We have to piggyback off that. A lot of places, unfortunately, are closing. So as excited as I was to get an oven and all this stuff, I kept it to myself because I was taking an oven from someone who was going out of business. So look, I mean, if you're looking in the food business, a lot of places are going. Manhattan is what, a 5-hour trip? So many places are going that I go to Manhattan and get things that I need. Just seeing those places, keeping your eye out, seeing what's going. JCPenney's for retail. It might not be your dream idea, but it gets you the things that you need to start up. And then someday, maybe I will get a new oven, or maybe someday I will get like something different. But for right now, to get myself going, it worked.
We have a question from Cece on Facebook, and Cece, we're going to get to you in just 1 second. I really want to ask, while we're on this thread, Teresa and Maria, what sometimes when we open businesses, breaking down into realistic goals and having benchmarks can be intimidating, overwhelming, especially when we're like, we're going to be a national brand and all the things. If you have no experience and no history yet, you just opened, it's hard to say this is a realistic goal. How have you navigated setting your goals and knowing that they're benchmarks and not dreams down the pipe?
Yeah, so I'll start and then I'll allow Maria to build as well. Lacey, that is such an excellent question, especially for someone like me who is very analytical, highly competitive, and very, very numbers and metrics driven. So, you know, I'm in my first year open as a brick and mortar, and like my business is dramatically changing every day. And the market is changing every day. And then COVID, throw that in the mix, and that's change, you know what I mean, every day. So I opened with the idea of I really wanted to have a daily sales goal with all of these things similar to what I would have when I was in corporate America, right? And it's difficult to have that when I don't know, like, what's a realistic daily sales goal for my business right now. It's, you know what I mean? I don't know. So for me, it only makes sense to, I think for any business owner, your daily sales goal at a minimum is your break even. So you need to do a break even analysis. If you don't know how to do that, I am pleased to help you. But do a break even analysis and figure out what is that number that you need to hit to pay your bills every month, basically. So that takes into account all of your operating expenses, everything, if you're buying inventory and all of those things. So do that to find that monthly, right? Because your bills are paid monthly, and then divide it into a daily sales goal. It's clean, it's neat, and it's not about being realistic. That's what you need in order to survive as a business. You need to be able to pay your bills, right? So that's to start. But then use your year one. This is what I'm doing, and I'm just speaking from my experience. Use your year one to collect that data. So I'm not just like working every day. Every day, whatever I make, I record it in a spreadsheet. Like literally every day, I know how much I made yesterday, how much I made the day before. And the reason for that is next year, I want to be able to use that data to identify trends. I want to be able to see why is October, or not even just, I'll analyze the whys later, but I want to at least have the information to predict that these are my slow months. These are my slow days. These are the days that maybe I'll change my hours based on that information, but I can't make smart decisions unless I have the information, the data.
No, that's very smart. My point of sales system, which Cece, I know you asked that question, also tracks that. So I track it through my iPad and record everything, and it goes right into a spreadsheet. So I do the exact same things. I plan out my day. My goal is to try to hit $1,000 a day, and it might not get there, and it might be a reach some days, as it's like not enough on other days, but it does. It gives you that wiggle room to kind of just pay out your bills and see how much things cost. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the nose right there with that.
So. Yeah. Cece also asked, what are some tools? Wait, let me actually pull up the question.
Yeah, pull up the questions.
Okay, so it says, what are some critical tips you have for others in the first year of business? So actually, we're going to talk about that in a second. Mm-hmm. What are some tools you use for point of sale and your online presence? That's a good question. So, so your point of sale is going to be relevant to your industry.
Yes.
Since I'm in the retail industry, similar to what Maria did, I reached out to a couple of people that I know who own retail stores online as well as brick and mortars. I wanted to see both and analyze both. Shopify to me was the easiest to learn, you know, coming from a totally different industry. I knew nothing about retail. So I use Shopify, but there are so many others that do similar things. In terms of online presence, so I do a lot of social media marketing, and I'm always constantly evaluating new tools for that. One of the things that I use to plan my social media content, I use Planoly as well as Hootsuite, and a couple of other sort of like editing tools, specifically InShot and I'm drawing a blank. But the point that I'm getting at is I experiment with a lot of different things, and you're gonna have to get used to trying things out. It doesn't work, try something else. That's how tools are.
Yeah, so we use here at the shop ShopKeep, and it links right up to my website. So eventually, once we get the hang of things, we are able to do custom orders online. So ShopKeep allows us to use that online presence for that. But it does. It tracks all of my stuff. It tracks my sales tax at the end of the year. Things that you don't, or at the end of the day, things that you forget about when you're like going through it all. So like, I don't know, $37 one day, 106, all of that stuff adds up. So I use that for social media. I do a lot of Instagram. It gets crazy when you're running a business and you have cakes in the oven and you have people at the door to always engage with social media. If I do one thing, I'm helping someone out here and I have cinnamon buns in the oven, even like 2 minutes too late, you burn your product, you're done. You got to start over. So it's a lot of time management. And that's right now something that I've kind of kicked to the side. So we do engage on Instagram, Facebook. We have the Facebook. It's a lot. All these different levels and tiers of social medias and all this stuff. It gets overwhelming. And you try things and see what works. So like we posted a lot about different businesses that we bring in, and we posted a lot about cupcakes, and you kind of just see what works to get your name out there.
You bring up both of you bring up a really good point, and it's time management. And this is another topic that we end up having a lot of discussion around. And as a business owner, I'm still learning, and we're constantly tweaking as we get more and more responsibility. We get bigger and bigger. How do you handle your schedules? Do you schedule? Do you batch set your appointments? Like, can you like a tangible tip on how you handle your calendars?
So for me, it's been a lot of saying no. I shut my doors at 3. I have people waiting outside, or they'll see me working and be like, "Are you open? Are you closed?" As much as I would love to do that, I have 2 little kids at home that need me as well. I get here at like 5 a.m. So that's a really long day. Time management to me is saying a lot of no's, not taking all the custom cake orders, not overextending myself, because A, you're going to burn yourself out, and B, you're not going to give your best high quality work when you do that. So for me, I make a point that I get here at 5 in the morning. I do all my baking. I start my coffees by 7, and then I kind of just have time to relax and catch up on my bills, catch up on my emails, call people that need to be called before all of like the lunch rush for me starts. And then I make sure by 2 o'clock, I start my dishes. I make sure everything's picked up and swept so I can get out of here. When I first started, I wasn't doing that, and I was working like 16-hour days. It was insane. I would get here at 5 and I wouldn't leave until like midnight every day. It was nuts. So you need to learn like what is good enough for you when you start, or else you're going to be like tied to your business forever.
So Risa, how do you handle it? So Maria, it sounds like you batch your calendar. At 2, I'm doing this. At 9, I'm doing this. At 5, I'm doing this. And you say no, which is awesome.
Gotta say no.
How do you handle the balance and the calendar?
So I'm going to answer this in a way that will also partly answer Cece's question on some critical tips in your first year. So I am a huge fan of hiring help, and it's a sacrifice when you're in your first year of business. It really, really is. So again, that looking at your finances and blah, 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 that really is important. But I did this in my personal life. Like when I was in corporate, I am working full time, and I have a 4-year-old daughter who, I want to spend all my time with her. The last thing I feel like doing is all this other stuff that I got to do. So I hired help. So in my business, though, I try, like, as much as I love to hire, I would love to be able to hire help to rest, but I'm too metrics oriented to do that. So I hire help in a way that will allow me to grow my business in other ways. So I'll give you an example. My tipping, for my first time business owners or first year business owners is know when it's time to bring on some personnel, even during COVID. Know when it's time to grow. Know that in order to grow your business, you are going to need help. So, and one way that I did that is by hiring another retail associate. So she takes over, she does weekends for me so that I can work on other things like accounting and looking for grants. They exist. I'm telling y'all, there's not a lot of them, and they're very hard to get. But, doing things like that I can't do when I'm in here. You know what I mean? When I'm in here, I'm 100% focused on the showroom and my customers when they walk in. So know, what are those things in your business that only you can do? And do those things. The other things, can you start to farm out some help to help you do that so that you can free up some of your time to do more of the things that only you can do, or more of the things that your customers want you to do, So that's, one tip for businesses that are early in or in the first year of their business is really start to catalog those activities that only you can do versus those activities that you can farm out. And initially it's going to feel like I have to do everything. No, I can't have anyone do anything. It will feel that way. And you will be working 24-hour days. Forget 16. You will be working all day. But start to really think about that, and even keep a journal. I have one, keep a business journal where it's okay, I spent a lot of time doing this. There's got to be easier way to do that. You know what I mean? And also best practice share. So Maria talked about reaching out to other business owners that are similar to you. I do that all the time. I'm also a member of other boutique associations that I join their calls. This is my business. This is your, when you open your business, this is your business. You're going to be working, right? So find associations, find networking groups, because the more information you have, the better you can make informed decisions about how to grow your business.
Both of you bring up some really good points. I own Full Bodied Health, which is a nutrition company here in Syracuse, New York. My accountant made me read a book by Michael Gerber called The EMyth that I highly recommend to all, even if you're not first year, but especially if you're first year, because it really does change perspective and how you do things, so you don't get tied in 24 hours.
What's it called, Lacey? I'm going to put it in the chat.
I can type it in. No.
Okay.
So one thing that we've touched on a bit on a really roundabout way is marketing. I know you both use social media a lot. Do you target? Could you tell us a little bit about your marketing strategies and how you develop them?
Yeah, so I know here at Exhale, I have a consultant. I've been using her for a little over a year, and she helps with a lot of that. So I wanted a brand. I didn't want to come up with something on my own, Adobe shop. I wanted it to look legit, and I wanted it to look professional, because my goal is to expand Exhale Cafe and Bake Shop. I would love for this to be the bake shop and have a cafe somewhere else. Or I would love to have, a bigger bake shop where I can do more orders and just grow my business. So I didn't want to have to come up with my own idea and then get bigger and it looked kind of like homey and then have to rebrand again. I wanted to be like, this is what it is. This is what we are. We're Exhale for a reason. And that helps me with marketing a lot. So I market a lot towards people like me. So I'm a busy mom of 2. I'm a single mom right now. I am in a relationship, but I'm a single mom. So I market to that. I talk about the nitty gritty stuff. Right now virtually teaching our children. So I talk about things that other parents are going through, and it really helps bring people in. Being a cafe, I want to be like a community space. I want people to come in here and be like, oh, we're getting conversation and our coffee, or we're getting conversation and our desserts, and not like hey, have a nice day, bye, see ya. Just like a typical, we just want to be a little bit different than a Starbucks. So for that, I use that in my marketing as well. And it's really been helping. It helps a lot to just kind of get on the level of where other people are in your community of what you're doing. So again, I've said it before, I don't act like I'm the best. I don't say I'm the best. If someone wants something specific, I firmly believe there's enough like people in Syracuse, there's enough business for everyone. So I will say, hey, this girl is really good at macaroons. This girl over here is really good at fondant work. I want to be more of a community base where people aren't like, oh, like she's very competitive. You can tell that there's like all of that stuff going on. And I'm sure that Carissa sees it being in a boutique. I'm in an all women's business. Like it's all bakers, and sometimes women can be kind of catty. So I like to be friends with everyone and see how everyone is, because you never know who you can use in the future. So that helps me with marketing too.
Teresa?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I appreciate about my professional background prior to opening Gypsy Freedom is a lot of sort of the strategic marketing experience that I got. So although I was an engineer, and I am an engineer, I very much am a marketing professional. A lot of my career in engineering was more customer centric, product, focused, and that type of thing. Even though these were technical products, the concepts are still the same, right? So I really feel like my specialty or my secret sauce is customer centric marketing. I first think about what they want, right? What are the customers interested in, right? And then I think about I align that with my goal, right? What is my goal with Gypsy Freedom? So if you look at anything that we are doing with Gypsy Freedom, I hope that I'm doing a good job at this. If not, I need to reevaluate. But I really think about three things. So our goal is to educate, build, and obviously sell these beautiful things that I bring in. So that's our goal. So when I market, I'm thinking about those three goals, right? Or that one goal in those three pieces. So I challenge you to think about that as well for your business. Before you pay anyone to do any form of marketing for your business, before you pay for all these boosts and Facebook ads and things, what are you doing? Like, what is your goal? What are you trying to do? And don't tell me it's just to sell stuff, because everybody's doing that. What else? What are your customers interested in? So, and then, along with my goals. So I said, one of my goals is to educate, right? So from a customer's perspective, what do my customers want to know, right? Do they want to know about me? Do they want to know about my business? Do they want to know about the sustainable lifestyle? So figure out what your customers are interested in knowing, in order to tie into that educate goal. That's how I think, right? For my goals. So think about your goals, and then again, think about how your customers' goals tie into that. My other goal, for example, is to sell, right? My goal is to sell, but my customers, they're thinking about what they need. They're not just going to buy stuff just because I'm showing them pretty pictures of it. So in your marketing tactics, your marketing strategy should be speaking to my marketing strategy, since my goal is to sell, should be speaking to what my customers need. So if I'm posting a picture of a pretty sweater, or if I'm developing a catalog of really, nice sweater things on my website, it's not because like I love sweaters, even though I do. It's because that's what my customers need right now. And that's what they're telling me that they need cozy sweaters because it's cold outside, so think about marketing it's a conversation that you're having with your customers. Think about it that way more than it is about you trying to make money.
Because they'll see right through that.
More that you think about it, more you're telling someone, the more that it'll make sense for your business.
Awesome.
And again, I hope that I am actually doing this right. If you guys have suggestions for me, I'm always open to them.
No,
so please send me messages and things.
I think you're right. People don't want to see certain things all the time because you're just selling to them. Like, I think you hit it so well. Like, see what the people want, because if you're just selling and selling and selling, people are going to be sick of you. Like, you got to throw in some flair. Like, you throw in a little bit of who you are and like your family and your background. And I think that people like to see that as well.
So you guys have been super informative. Some of the big key takeaways so far that I have is, man, I wrote no in really big letters in the corner because that's something I'm still learning. But to innovate, be innovative, test the waters in some way. You guys planned and plunged. Out of context, that sounds horrible. And you leaned into being real and vulnerable in all situations, while staying true, as Teresa's saying, to your core values, your mission, and who you are. Thank you for joining, guys. I can't thank you enough. Again, the book that was earlier is the EMyth. I'll give you guys a last warm up. I just want to say first, if you are interested in one-on-one business coaching, it's easy, simple to sign up. The link will be given out chat box here and on social media. And it's free to you thanks to generous grants and donations. Teresa, last words? I think you froze.
Am I frozen?
Now we got
thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. I just wanted to answer Cece's question about grants for women and minorities. I'd like to say they are out there. You'd have to dig and find. I know the state has several grants, but again, I'd like to just mention what Maria and I have mentioned several times, I hope, during this. Really do not depend on that to start and run your business. If you get grants and things, just that's luck. Seriously, businesses are not running off of these grants and things. So I just want to open that. I know the city of Syracuse, if you're local to the city of Syracuse, also has grants occasionally that they'll release, but really it's just that game of just watching, almost like when you were a college student, you were looking for scholarships. It's the same thing. So just some parting words for me. If you're interested in learning more about Gypsy Freedom, please visit our website, shopgypsyfreedom.com, and visit our showroom at 312 South Salina Street in Syracuse, New York. And then I'm on social media everywhere at Shop Gypsy Freedom, or on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for having me, Wise, as always.
And just to piggyback off that, for CC, I believe, I Fund Women. You can see them on Instagram, Facebook. It's all one word, I Fund Women. They have a bunch of different grants. Again, I was one out of like 200,000 women. So it is very rare to get a grant. It's very hard to get them. Do not expect that it's something easy to get. Grants, loans, whatever. Definitely go into it having that income that you need, or that money that you need to start your business, and then use the grant money for something special that maybe you want to upgrade, or maybe you want something different. Not for like, I'm going to get a grant and I'm going to use it for this money because it's very hard for that to happen. And then, like Teresa said, I am in Township 5, which is in Camillus. We are at 174 Township Boulevard, right across from Costco. We're on Instagram and Facebook. You can see my quirky self on there all the time, see what I'm up to. And this is Aaliyah. This is one, as Carissa said, I hire help. I'm not a one-man show. I would not be here without the help of my staff and people here. Have a good day. And yeah, I mean, I appreciate you so much for thinking of me, having me come on here and speak. If anybody has any questions, they need to reach out. They have more questions for us, please message me on Instagram, message me on Facebook. My number is literally everywhere. I am very open to any conversation anyone may have.
And I'd like to also just offer a slight commercial for Wise. Both Lacey and myself are business coaches at the Wise Women's Business Center. So again, if you would like one-on-one coaching, Wise is offering that free at no cost to you other than your time. So we provide one-on-one coaching to help you build your business plan, help you navigate some of these ideas you may have, help you sort of with that financial planning. It's one-on-one. So definitely, I always encourage women to take advantage of that as well.
Awesome. Then we will wrap it up. Ladies, again, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you later.
Thanks. Bye. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, they asked me to host a